Alan Taylor and Iman Shumpert divorce has
Yeah,
no
I feel
final.
so close to you.
Yeah, me too.
Fuck all that. We stream.
Nobody was ready for what happened inside that courtroom. Not the press. Not the fans. Not even the family members sitting in those perfectly lined wooden benches. The morning had started out like any other celebrity legal hearing. Media outside, camera flashes everywhere, fans whispering behind barriers, and tight security keeping things calm. But the moment their teenage daughter stepped forward and took the stand, everything shifted. And when she opened her mouth to speak, what came out left the room breathless. The silence that followed wasn't just awkward. It was terrifying. Because in that single moment, a child broke the wall of secrets no adult had dared to touch. And as for Iman Shumpert, he didn't say a word. He just sat there, frozen, with his mouth closed and his head down. The case wasn't supposed to go like this. It had been a messy situation for a while, sure, but the lawyers had promised a quiet hearing. No outbursts. No surprises. Just a final step in the custody battle that had been dragging on since the separation. Teyana Taylor arrived looking tired, but graceful. She wore all black, her face unreadable. Iman came in shortly after, alone, eyes fixed on the floor as he made his way to his seat. No one spoke to him, not even his own legal team. The energy in the room was stiff, cold, and heavy. The daughter, whose name we're not revealing here for privacy, wasn't supposed to testify at all. At least not yet. But her name was suddenly called, and before anyone could question it, she stood up and began walking toward the front of the courtroom. Her steps were slow, controlled, but her face said everything. This wasn't planned. This wasn't rehearsed. And that's exactly why it felt so real. You could see her hands tremble as she raised them to take the oath. You could hear the slight break in her voice as she said yes to the judge's questions. And when she finally sat down and looked around the courtroom, her eyes landed on her father. Iman didn't return the look. The first few questions were soft. Just background stuff. What school she went to, who she lived with most of the time, whether she had any siblings. She answered all of them quietly, clearly, but you could tell she was holding something back. And then, just as the room was starting to breathe again, the lawyer asked her a question that changed the whole tone. Do you feel safe when you're with your father? There was a long pause. Too long. The kind of silence that stretches so far you forget what breathing feels like. Her lips parted slightly, and then she looked down at her hands. The judge asked if she was okay to continue. She nodded once, then whispered, "Sometimes not really." Gasps rippled across the room. People sat up straighter. Even the court reporter's fingers hesitated on the keys for a second. The lawyer leaned in gently and asked what she meant by that. And the answer she gave didn't just shake the courtroom. It cracked open a hidden history. "I saw things," she said. "Things I wasn't supposed to see. I was little, but I remember. Women coming into the house. Late at night, when mom was gone." No one breathed. The judge tried to redirect, asked if she felt those women had made her feel unsafe. She clarified, "It's not them. It's the lies. The way he looked at me like I didn't exist when they were there." Her voice trembled more now, like I was in the way. Teyana didn't move. She didn't cry. She just stared straight ahead, her face blank but her chest rising and falling faster than before. Iman didn't blink. He looked down at the table in front of him, hands locked together, unmoving. Someone on his legal team whispered something to him, but he didn't respond. The judge asked again if she needed to stop, but the girl shook her head. The lawyer, clearly unsure whether to press further or back off, asked gently, "Did you ever tell anyone what you saw?" Her eyes filled with tears, but none fell. "I told the nanny once. She told me not to talk about it. She said, 'That's grown-up stuff, baby. Don't worry about it.'" Then she added something that crushed the room. "But I did worry. Every night." The courtroom was no longer just a room full of adults arguing over custody and property. It was now a space filled with raw, bleeding truth. A child had just exposed what no headline had ever said out loud, that the pain in that home wasn't just between husband and wife. It reached the kids, too. And while the world argued over Instagram posts, press releases, and staged photos, a little girl had been silently watching everything. The judge looked stunned. The clerk's pen stopped moving. And in the gallery, a woman let out an audible gasp and muttered, "Oh my God." The bailiff motioned for quiet. The judge, looking visibly disturbed, announced a brief recess. The girl was escorted out gently by a court officer while the room buzzed with whispers. Outside the courtroom, things exploded. Reporters who were getting ready to write a basic recap were now scrambling to rewrite everything. News broke within 20 minutes. Daughter of Iman and Tayana testifies about alleged infidelity in open court. The headlines were fast, messy, and dramatic. Some people doubted it. Some defended Iman, claiming the girl was being used. Others said what many had been whispering all along, that this wasn't new, just finally exposed. Inside the building, Iman finally spoke. But it wasn't to the judge. It wasn't to Tayana. He leaned into his lawyer and said something quietly. Reportedly, his lawyer just nodded, then sat back, face pale. It became clear that he wasn't going to address what was just said. No denial, no statement, no emotion, just silence. Tayana remained silent too. Her face didn't crack. But insiders said her eyes had welled up the moment her daughter started speaking. Not from surprise, but from pain. That her child had to carry that truth on her own. That no one believed her until she said it in a room full of strangers. It wasn't about the cheating anymore. It was about the damage. As court resumed, things were different. The tension had tripled. The judge made a comment about protecting the emotional well-being of minors and reminded both legal teams that the child's testimony would be sealed from the public moving forward. But the damage was already done. Everyone had heard it, and no one could unhear it. After that moment, the rest of the hearing felt almost irrelevant. Sure, motions were filed, a handful of witnesses took the stand, and the legal dance played on. But no one was talking about the technical stuff anymore. All eyes and ears were fixated on that one unforgettable scene. The girl's testimony, the weight of her words, and the deafening silence from Iman. It was like a bomb had dropped in the courtroom, shaking the foundations of everything people thought they knew. Outside the courthouse, the public erupted into a frenzy of divided emotions. Some fans were heartbroken, moved to tears by the raw honesty of the child's statements. Others said they weren't shocked at all. Some even claimed it confirmed suspicions they'd been quietly harboring. The internet wasted no time turning the moment into viral content. Memes flooded social media within hours. One showed a fiery caption, "She spilled more than the lawyers ever could." Another meme froze a stunned-looking Iman mid-silence with a tagline, "When silence says everything." Celebrity blogs jumped on the bandwagon, dissecting every nuance of the hearing. Panel shows debated fiercely over whether children should even be called to testify in such cases, weighing the emotional toll against the pursuit of truth. Talk show hosts chimed in with their hot takes, turning the courtroom drama into primetime discussion. Twitter? It exploded with passionate reactions. "Kids don't lie like that. Not under oath. She did what grown folks couldn't. She spoke the truth." Tayana protected him for too long. The narrative shifted overnight. It wasn't just about fame or public image anymore. It was about family, broken and bruised, desperately begging to be heard. The very next day, Tayana posted something that sent a clear message to everyone watching. It was just a black screen on her Instagram story, with no words, pure silence. But to those paying attention, it spoke volumes. She wasn't going to say a thing. Her daughter's testimony had already done the talking. Meanwhile, Iman's social media accounts went completely dark. No posts, no likes, no stories. Radio silence. The silence that said everything. Then came whispers from court insiders that sent the drama to a new level. Tayana's legal team is reportedly gearing up to file for full custody, citing emotional neglect and an unsafe environment, claims backed by the powerful testimony heard in court. While nothing has been officially announced, the buzz is deafening. Sources close to Iman reveal he's devastated and blindsided, saying he never expected his daughter to say any of that. The public is absolutely hooked, and the battle for truth and custody is nowhere near over. But here's what really makes this whole saga heartbreaking. It took a child breaking down in a courtroom, under oath, for the world to finally see the truth. For months, the public had been caught up in speculation, crafting their own wild narratives, picking sides like it was some kind of game. Yet beneath all the gossip and scandal, the real story was so much deeper and so much more painful. It was about a little girl forced to watch her family crumble piece by piece, while the grown-ups around her smiled for the cameras and played their roles like it was just another show. Now that the truth is finally out there, raw and undeniable, the big question looms large. What's next? Will Iman finally step up and take accountability for everything that's happened? Will he break his silence and say something, anything, to address what his daughter revealed? And what about Tayana? Will she respond publicly or continue to guard her privacy as she rebuilds her life? Or is this all destined to fade into the background as just another fleeting scandal, leaving behind a child who showed more courage than anyone else in the room by speaking her truth when no one else dared? We want to hear from you. Was the daughter's testimony a real turning point in this messy saga? Do you think kids should ever be put in that impossible position to testify in court? And what about Iman's chilling silence? What do you think that really meant? Was it guilt? Shock? Or something else entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to Gossip Spill for every juicy twist, every shocking reveal, and every raw, unfiltered truth behind the headlines. Because when courtrooms explode with secrets and the truth spills out in front of cameras and judges, we'll be right here, breaking it all down for you.